It was a little bit harder for me to learn and memorize because a lot of the movements repeats in different forms, like what I mentioned earlier. Let's go through it so you guys know what I mean. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jeff. So in this video, we're going to check out the dance practice for Ditto by NewJeans. So obviously this has been viral already on TikTok. I feel like everybody has used this on their year-end flashback or rewind. I also took part in the challenge with that. You guys can see that on my TikTok. I learned the choreography, actually, the chorus. So I'll let you guys know a little bit about that later within the reaction. So yeah, one thing that I'm gonna do different this year, let me know if you guys like it, is that I'm just gonna watch the entire thing first and then go back and dissect. Ooh, beautiful. I don't think we need subs. That's cool. The domino effect. Ooh, slick. I'm already seeing a lot of old school hip hop. Nice, that was a good travel. Lots of different nuances on there, like with the feet, with the hands, even on the downbeats. That's why they're different. Such a vibe. Oh my god. I also like their lighting in this dance practice video because it's very clear what they're doing. No one's like hidden. Lots of bounce. Hey, love the, you know, they're looking at each other. Hey, ooh, slay. There's a lot of moves that in a way repeat, but just in different forms, if that makes sense. A lot of repetition. Ooh. Yeah, I like this part. Aww. Back to that, yes. All right, okay, so now we're gonna dissect what I can. Yeah, so what I was saying earlier about like there's a lot that repeats. So obviously this part, you know, is part of the chorus. It also repeats without the hands. There's just a lot of like, you know, kind of like the wind, kind of like the car window rolling type. I don't know if it's exclusive to old school hip hop, but there's certainly a lot of stuff in old school hip hop in this choreography which allows for the repeat, kind of like the single, single, double, double. The nuances within it, it's very old school hip hop, for me anyway. Like, you know, like these kind of things. It's old school hip hop, like with musical theater. Like that, the isolation in the neck, the foot. That part also quite street, old school hip hop. Yeah, like that's just the overall vibe of this choreography, which is, you know, in line with their concept. You know, a little more nostalgia. Love that part. Oh, nice travel and groove. Her, like it's not just a step back. It's like there's a groove to it, and a lot of those things is kind of like how you know if someone's basic training is like in hip hop, because you have that swag and the natural swag and vibe of someone who does hip hop, who dances that genre. It's kind of the same idea. Like if you were trained at a young age with ballet or like jazz, you know, you will have those specific vibes, and the upright position, the way you bend, you know, those will all kind of be affected by your training. So with her, it seems to me anyway that she's got that underground swag, you know, the vibe. Like, you know, you see it in the shoulders. The shoulders is a good indication of what kind of training someone has. If it's easily, you know, kind of like with Mark Lee from like NCT, you know, like the shoulders, that swag is just there. And it's evident here, you know, like the hip hop training is there because it's not so structured. There's fluidity and like bend, and it's just like the letting go, the freeness of the shoulders is there. With technical genres, it's quite structured and stiffened. Not stiffened, like there's a specific stance to that, and that's something that when I was in university, I did advanced dance. So it was a combination of different genres, because it was mainly like a class for musical theater, so we did different genres. And ironically, my dance teacher preferred that, you know, she was like, you know, Jeff, you know, when you're low, like broken down and stuff, like the swag and like the hip hop, you're really good at it. But when you go up high and stuff, like it's not as polished. And that makes sense to me because my origin is like old school hip hop. And then I got into like ballet and contemporary and those kind of things. So when I got to university, I really had to work on my shoulders to like have it upright, and, you know, the stance and the posture, the right posture basically. And with that, you know, your shoulders really kind of like, you know, kind of jailed in that position because it becomes second nature to you. Of course, there's a lot of people who can, you know, mix and match, but that's something that you would need to work on if you want to go from like a technical genre to hip hop, because hip hop is very like, you know, it's very low and down, and like, you know, like what they're doing here is it's very loose basically. Love that. I like her the that jump, that part. It's there's a clear dynamic change to it and an emotional feel to it as well, because it's kind of like static and then boom, you know, it's such a, the personality is there basically. And I feel like that's why I've been liking a lot of NewJeans performances and songs. There's a lot of personality in the way they move, the youthfulness translated into the way they're dancing. And that's why, for example, like Hype Boy, I feel like that's why it became so viral, because it just captured the nostalgia of being young and being free. And then the personality of that choreography is so evident, you know? Same thing with this choreography. It's like there's nostalgia already just within the choreography itself. Like that hop. Where do you see that? From which group do you see that? You know, it's like, I'm guessing it's referencing to their fandom, you know, bunnies. But it's so adorable. that vibe, you know, with like the foot and knees kind of like going like that. That's very old school hip hop too. Okay, here's a chorus that I learned. Okay, wait. So I'm just gonna say that this chorus, it's very bouncy, and it was a little bit harder for me to learn and memorize because a lot of the movements repeats in different forms, like what I mentioned earlier. Let's go through it so you guys know what I mean. So one thing, you know, when they did this part, that part, bam bam, and then that again, it's a similar movement that your hips are the ones engaged. And I had a hard time kind of just going through it because it's fast. It feels slow, but it actually is quite fast. When you put a lot of energy to it. Of course, there's a kind of more laid back way to do it, which is what a lot of people are doing on TikTok. But like when you perform it a little bit more hardcore, so you do that part, ta 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 ta, and then you go here again. So now I remember when I was learning it, it was so hard to get into the sequence of it because the movement is the same. So I feel like instead of doing this part, I'm going here because that's the same move of the hips. So, but my arms are different, right? So it's that kind of memorization. It's a little tricky memorizing something that repeats in different forms. And it's the same idea as if you do the same things, same choreography, but in different formations. That's one example. Or if your direction of your facing changes, but it's the same choreography. So it's all about just keep practicing and repetition, basically. So the more you repeat it, the more your muscle memory gets into it. Eventually you learn the dance. This one, the hop, actually. It's a very tricky choreography. Okay. There's that jump there. And then it bounces into this, like the kicks in the jumps. So it's very bouncy, and then at the same time you're rotating. And then like when I was learning it, like my mind, I'm like, oh my God, my coordination was just like all over the place. Of course, you know, the more you practice, you're like, okay, now I get it. It's on the downbeats too. There are these click, click, right? And you're doing something different for each ones. And they're also like doing different hand movements. So it was like, when I was learning, I was like, whoa, which one do I follow? But apart from that, it's the bounciness, you know, like for a lot of young dancers, you guys will probably have an easier time learning this. But like when you've been out of dance for a while, like me, and haven't really done a lot of conditioning to get back into shape, it's hard because it's so bouncy, stamina breaking, because there's a lot of nuances within the choreography that at first you were like, oh, this is so easy, and then you try it and it's like, oh my God, it's complicated. But then again, it's just the hard part of it is just learning it, and the more you practice it, then it gets a lot easier. This part was also, I was like, when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful and quite easy to learn. But when you start learning it, you're like, what? How do you do that? The hips? How do you like rotate it that way? For a lot of people who have been doing a lot of a lot of girl group dances, this might be easier than if you weren't, because the hips are very engaged. Because this one, so you hop, and then you go into the bounce, stamina, and then you rotate, and then you go into this thing, and then you go into the shoulder shimmies. Like the stamina to do that whole combination from like the chorus itself, it's like going and going and going and going and going. You know, there's jumps, there's kicks, there's rotation, there's turns. Yeah, it's a lot within a short amount of time. And of course the vibe, right? And then it goes into this too. So if your cardio is not your forte, this is gonna be very difficult to really execute from the top to bottom. With this one, you know, you did all of that, you know, the choreography, and then it's the second part of the chorus, and then it's just like a more bounce, and the energy shifts even more. So it's like, whoa, can I push it a little bit more? When you're young, it's a lot easier, telling you. It elevates in energy in the second half of the chorus, even though they're like doing easier move per se, but like the bounciness of it and the fluidity and the vibe of it, they're all, that's the hard part. Love that leg extension. She's great. I think she's the one with the purple hair at Mama or MMA. They keep changing their hair colors. You know, they were black, and then I think she had purple hair at MMA or Mama, I think. But yeah, I loved her there too. I think it was her performance was such a vibe. It was so hip hop, and it was just all in the right execution. Love the leg extension there, very clean. So this section here, even though it's just a lot of it's just like feet working, it's actually kind of like tapping, like tap. Of course in tap I learned a little bit of tap too. Oh my god, I feel like I've done everything. The shuffles and stuff, it's not exactly the same, but like because of the rhythm of the foot, and for a lot of dancers, they don't really just isolate their feet when they're dancing. That's why tap is very difficult for a lot of dancers. I was a very trained dancer, but when I learned tap, I felt like I didn't know how to dance at all because I couldn't move I couldn't isolate my feet. So with this one, I feel like it's a similar vibe because of like the tapping. It's not shuffling and stuff, but like these kind of things, you know, the toe pick, it's not exactly like tapping, but I feel like it would kind of have a similar execution. Hey, I love this part, this moment with Danielle and her. Oh my god, I don't know her name. I will, don't worry. The way she's hopping, because now I know, because of her ballet training, reminds me of something so musical theater, the way she's hopping. But here, I love the moment there. It's just the personality is so evident. The connection, you know, with the members. Look, also, like, you know, this choreography just keeps moving, and you know, like from the shoulders to the foot, it's continuous. The stamina is just incredible. Like look, this bend, you know, it's so simple, but like just to bend down that low takes some energy, you know. Hey, love that. Slay! They're just having so much fun with this choreo. See, this part repeats as well. So that's kind of the same as this part. Boom, 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 but it's just in a different form. This again, there's a lot of bounce to it. This is a hard choreo. Like, look at that footwork. Jesus Christ. This is one of the only moments where they get to breathe. Nice. So yeah, it seems like that they're really playing their cards right. And I feel like, just the response, from the charts to the virality of this dance, this choreography, I think they're doing really well. Yeah. It's a great follow-up to their debut, which is great. All right, thank you guys so much for watching with me today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, do like and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, make sure you tick that notification bell so you don't miss any content from me. And if you'd like to get to know more about me, do check out my Instagram, Patreon, and TikTok down below.